In 2010, Insidious terrified audiences while reinvigorating the ghost genre, setting the stage for The Conjuring to make its debut in July 2013. Only 2 months later, audiences got a second helping of house haunting with Insidious Chapter 2. Both franchises come courtesy of director James Wan, and in the case of Insidious, his writing partner from Saw, Lee Wan-el. Though unlike Saw, where Wan took a step back for a lot of the sequels, he actually returned to the director's chair for Insidious Chapter 2. The first movie made $100 million on a $1.5 million budget, so the opportunity was there to invest more aggressively in the sequel. But like Pokemon, why bother if people will pay for whatever slop they publish? This is on Switch 2. It looks like a GameCube game. They did actually up Insidious 2's budget to a still modest $5 million compared to the original's $1.5 million. Talking about this choice to IndieWire, Jason Blum said this: "I fundamentally believe that the higher the budget of a movie, the less risks you can take. I think that makes sense. If I was giving someone $30 million to make a horror movie, I would want every decision to be looked over by many, many people. But if you keep budgets down, you can let James Wan do what he does, fast, and let him focus on making the movie he wants to make." What movie did James Wan want to make? Insidious Chapter 2. Come on, what are we talking about here? But he meant that very literally. This isn't one of those skip 5 years ahead or change out the cast sequels you often see in horror. No, this one picks up right where the last left off. Given the cliffhanger, Josh stuck in the further with his body possessed by an old lady, anything else would have felt like cheating. Now, sit back, leave your body behind, pretend it's still Month of Terror, and join me on another trip into the further. We begin at the Lambert residence, 1986, 24 years prior to the events of the first movie. If you recall, that movie revealed that when Josh was a child, he was haunted by an old woman. She would appear every time his mother Lorraine took a photo of him. This flashback reveals that Lorraine sought help from a psychic named Carl, but he was so scared he called in the big guns, his colleague Elise.
Ahoy, Carl.
Why does that sound so weird? Well, the young Elise here is played by Lindsay Syme, but for consistency, her voice was dubbed over by Lynn Shay, who plays the older Elise that we know from the first movie, and the effect is odd. Like watching The Simpsons today, when the voice actors have aged almost 40 years, but the characters still look the same. It works better when we first meet her and the back of her head is to the camera, but once you see her face, it gets weird.
I'd like to get started right away, if that's okay. Carl told me on the phone your son is the one affected. Is that right?
Elise interviews little Josh. He tells her that he has bad dreams, but doesn't share the contents of them. Plan B. They hypnotize the kid. That's how she learns Josh is what she calls a traveler, capable of astral projection. At night, when he sleeps and leaves his body, he's visited by a woman who claims to be a friend, but you and I both know the truth. She wants the same thing these ghouls always want. While Josh is out of his body, she wants to steal it, take it over for a chance to live again. Even now, that spirit is in the house. With Josh's help, Elise finds it in a dark closet. She tries to engage it in conversation, but it answers with violence. Elise returns downstairs nursing a cut on her arm.
It's a parasite. I've never felt such a malignant presence. It wants to be him.
How to stop it? She sees only one way. Hypnotize Josh and make him forget his ability to travel. That way, he'll stop leaving his body and the old woman can't steal it. Aside from the awkward dubbing, this opening also feels oddly paced, like it all happens so fast. Josh, what happens in your dreams? He slightly hesitated before answering. Let's hypnotize him. The demon gave me a paper cut. Time to lobotomize your son. This all feels less like a peek into the past, and more like a flashback included out of a weird sense of obligation. We said it happened in the first movie, so we gotta show it here, but compressed into a 9-minute sequence. It's also here to shoehorn Carl into the picture, which also feels like it stems from a sense of obligation. The movie needs a wise old psychic, and with Elise gone, they replaced her with this guy. But Juan and Juanel still know how to shoot a tense, haunting sequence. When Elise asks Josh where his friend is now, the boy is too scared. So instead they play a game of hot or cold. She wanders the house while he tells her warmer or colder. Is she getting closer or further to the ghost? It's a clever way to build tension as we close in on said ghost. Title sequence, and finally, cut to present day. We join Renee the day after Chapter 1's conclusion. With Elise Rainier's suspicious death at her home, Renee ends up in one of those little rooms where you sit across the table from a cop who's got some questions. Anyone who's dealt with murder by the hands of a ghost possessing a loved one has been through this. Juan is often one to try interesting things with the camera, and I love the sense of isolation that comes with this shot. A black void with only Renee and the cop in the middle of it, lit by a dim overhead lamp. We slowly zoom in to join them as they helpfully review the plot of the first movie. There's also something amusing about the cop reading it all out in the same serious but incredulous and condescending tone. You say she put your husband in a trance to project his unconscious
into a spirit realm where he could locate your son and bring him back to consciousness.
Well, when you put it like that. Renee tells the cop what happened, leading to a flashback, which fills in some blanks for us. The last we saw, Renee had found Elise's body strangled and saw the photo Elise took right before she died, revealing the old lady in Josh's place, indicating that Josh has been possessed by her. Now we see what happened next. Possessed Josh tries to act natural.
Why are you looking at me like that? You think I did this?
Me, the only one who was in the room with her? Oh, those strangulation marks. Yeah, see, she fell and I caught her by the throat. I saved her life, actually. You're welcome. And then she died, but totally unrelated. Renee and Josh head home. They don't have enough evidence to hold him, other than Elise was strangled by someone his size. He was the only one around, and he definitely killed her. The cops feel like another item included out of obligation. Someone was strangled in their living room. Of course the cops had to get involved. It'd feel like a cheat to skip over it. Except I'm not sure this is much better. Sure, they're included, but they're unconvincingly hand-waved out of the picture. Ask a few questions to recap the story for viewers, then basically disappear. With the Lambert residence under investigation, they instead move into Josh's mother Lorraine's house. Josh puts the kids to bed before Foster shows Dalton what he's made. 2 cans and a string. A tin can telephone. Remember those? Kids these days don't know how good they have it. Minecraft, Roblox. Meanwhile, all we had to play with back in the day were cans, strings, and sound waves. Speaking of sound, Renee is haunted by a piano playing itself. Callie's suddenly out of her crib, and other weird stuff. What the hell is going on here? Probably ghosts would be my guess. Renee tells Josh the bad news. Insidious got a sequel. The hauntings are still happening. Evil Josh writes off her concerns, and that sets her off. Things are nuts around here. Ghosts abound. Elise was killed, and no one is talking about it.
Then let's talk about it.
You think I did it?
No. No.
Good,
I
good.
don't.
See, Josh is clever. If you don't want people to suspect you, it's a good idea to frequently bring it up. You don't think I killed her, right? Yeah, right. Okay, how about now? How about now what? How about now? Do you still think I didn't kill her? Yeah, I don't think you killed her. Okay, cool. Hey, what? You don't think I killed that lady, do you? Do you want me to say yes? Okay, yes, I think you killed her. Whoa, are you crazy? What are you, nuts? Of course I didn't kill her. What kind of... You feeling okay? Of all the nonsense. Seriously, though, this is a bit disappointing from a character standpoint. The first movie followed Renee, desperately trying to understand what happened to her son, accepting the supernatural, learning the ins and outs of astral projection, the further, and possession, learning that Josh was haunted by an old lady ghost, and was only protected from her by having his ability blocked. And wouldn't you know it, the moment that block lock is lifted. Elise is strangled to death and a fresh photo shows up, displaying said old lady ghost as back. Add to that, Josh is acting weirdly aggressive and weirdly skeptical considering he recently learned without a shadow of a doubt ghosts are real. The point is, Josh is obviously possessed. The fact that Renee can't see that, or does but is in severe denial, either way, it feels like such a regression for her character. We're back in "there are ghosts, you gotta believe me" mode, which is not only repetitive to the first movie, but frustrating in the way it undercuts her character growth. Josh reassures Renee, everything is fine. We have our son back, I killed Elise, let's just move on. But wait, what was that? I said we have our son back, let's just move on. Oh, okay. Meanwhile, Tucker and Specs return to Elise's home, where a door opens on its own, the door to her reading room, the one she always kept locked. They head inside.
That's a private room. Should stay there. See?
In the pile of tapes knocked over by Tucker's genitalia, they find one marked Lambert, Josh, 1986. On the tape, they watch Elise's interview of young Josh and spot a moment where, while hypnotized, he seemingly speaks to no one.
I'll show you.
Which, all things considered, doesn't seem that weird. The kid is known to speak with ghosts, but you can sense the movie struggling to find mystery. The first chapter had Dalton in a supernatural coma, an intriguing and emotionally resonant hook. But that was resolved, and the ghosts were explained. Now, Josh is possessed, but there's no real mystery there. We know how that happened, and we know why. The old lady ghost wanted to come back to life and needed a living body to do it. Sure, the exact details are unknown, like who exactly is she, but we get the general idea, because it's no great mystery why a dead person trapped in a dark realm would prefer life. So now we have this new mystery added to the pile. Who is young Josh speaking to? At home, Lorraine is spooked by a ghost woman in a white dress, but Josh is there to assure, you didn't see nothing. Dalton, by the way, also sees the white dress ghost, and he caught Daddy whispering to seemingly no one, you have to go. You have to leave. Dalton wonders if there's something wrong with his dad, whispering to no one in the middle of the night. Renee provides some hollow reassurances. He's okay. He's just been through a lot. At least Lorraine still has some sense. She reaches out to Tucker and Specs to let them know the hauntings are back, and they show her the tape of Josh's 1986 hypnosis-induced interview. As his mother, of course she was there, but hardly remembers it. And remember that part where young Josh was talking to no one, and they were like, who's he talking to? Pausing and brightening the image reveals Patrick Wilson, a.k.a. older Josh. Young Josh was speaking to his older self. And I'm back on board. Time travel by ghost? I love that. Where this movie lost so much mystery after the reveals in the original, now I won't say it's fully reignited, but there is a spark. How is this possible, Lorraine wonders? If only Elise were here to help, and that gives them an idea. Just because she's dead doesn't mean they can't reach out. But first, Renee gets a call from the detective. Forensics came back. The bruises on Elise Rainier's neck do not match Josh's hands. See? Told you he didn't kill anyone. Renee breathes a sigh of relief before the toddler walker moves of its own accord. Lady in white dress appears singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Always creepy, a ghost singing, before she disappears in the hall. Then she sings again, this time over the baby monitor. It's a clever way to escalate things, taking the scene from somewhat creepy to your baby is in danger. But creepy sounds over the baby monitor, Callie crying, quite repetitive to the first movie, and forces comparisons to the original that did it more effectively, especially since we hadn't already seen it 5 times by that point. Renee runs upstairs, the door slams shut, but she can hear the ghost lady in there with her baby, saying, what a beautiful little girl. The door opens, and suddenly Callie is downstairs. Down there, objects fly, and the dress lady smacks Renee unconscious. probably the first jump scare in the movie, and it is a loud noise preceded by quiet, so it will make you jump. And Renee has nothing to do in this movie, other than running up and down the stairs chasing ghosts and telling Josh, "You've gotta believe me." So I guess they figured, just knock her out for a while and buy us some time. At Elise's house, Specs and Tucker call in help from her old colleague, Carl. What sort of help? The John Edward kind. He's a psychic like Elise. Maybe he can call her in the afterlife. Gotta feel bad for the guy. In '86, the best help he could offer was, let me call Elise, she'll know what to do. And even now that she's dead, people would still rather work with her over him. In lieu of the first movie's inherent drama, two parents trying to rescue their son from another dimension, this one struggles to find any, and a lot of it falls flat. Like, we barely know this Carl guy, and he was clearly invented out of necessity for the sequel, so when he comes in with lines like this,
I'd been meaning to catch up with her, to call her, but I always kept putting it off till the next week, and now she's gone.
It's too bad because so much of what made the first movie work was the emotional core. It was James Wan proto-Conjuring, melding family drama with supernatural horror, but this movie cannot find anything to rival the drama of parents trying to get their son back. In this movie, it's about trying to get a husband and father back, but it takes these people half the movie to even realize he's gone, so it's hardly mined for any real drama. But Carl communicates with the dead using lettered dice. He asks a question, then rolls and finds the answer among them, and that's cool. I thought Insidious was inventive in the way it dresses up old tropes, like the gas mask in the seance scene, and now we have dice in place of a Ouija board. Carl calls out to Elise, and after a few tries, she gives them a clue about the thing which possessed Josh and killed her, the name of a hospital where Lorraine used to work. Our Lady of the Angels. At home, possessed Josh finds the unconscious Renee. He puts her on the couch and sniffs her. Yup, Rose Byrne must have been so happy she came back for the sequel. Lorraine, Tucker, Specs, and new friend Carl head to the abandoned hospital. In a film risking too much repetition from the original, this provides a nice change of scenery and style. Now, we're in Ghost Hunters, flashlights, and shaky cam mode. And this is the right place for it. These scenes were filmed at Linda Vista Hospital, which was closed in 1991, then became a popular filming location. Movies like Addams Family Values, Tammy and the T-Rex, also TV shows, True Blood, Dexter, and more, including the 2008 seminal classic Zombie Strippers. It's also a destination for actual paranormal investigators. As part of research for their roles as Specs and Tucker, Lee Wanell and Angus Sampson came to the hospital with a couple of investigators from LA Paranormal Association. They didn't find any ghosts, but they did find a raccoon, and after Wanell brought his wife there, a psychic later warned her to never go back. She apparently came this close to bringing something home with her. I wonder if Lee paid the psychic to say that. Like, look, I love my wife, but when she visits the set, it's distracting. Maybe tell her that it's haunted, If she visits again, a demon will possess her. Carl senses something in the ICU. Lorraine has a flashback. There was an old patient, Parker Crane, who had tried to castrate himself. One day, Lorraine found him up and about. What was he doing out of bed? Scratch that, what was he doing out of the morgue? Yes, after watching Parker wander off, Lorraine asked someone why he's out of bed, and they informed her he jumped to his death yesterday. She couldn't have seen him just now, unless what she saw was a ghost. As much as it's nice to get a change of scenery, it also feels a little like we're getting way off track here. Josh is possessed by an evil old lady. We're 47 minutes into the movie. I kind of want to know what's going on with that. Looks like Josh is not doing too well. He's looking a little pale. Teeth are falling out.
Your dead soul is killing his living skin.
The voice tells him the only way to live. Kill them. Kill Josh's family for some reason.
Mo, give me a beer.
No, not unless you kill your family.
Why should I kill my family?
They'd be much happier as ghosts.
You don't look so happy.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm very happy. La 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 la, see?
Evil Josh begs, "I can't, Mother. Please don't make me do it." So we get a couple of ideas here. One, whoever possessed Josh has mommy issues, even from beyond the grave. Their mother is ordering them to kill. Why? It seems when a spirit of the dead possesses a living body, that body starts to die. If we believe his mother, then killing others is the only way to prolong that stolen life. At the hospital, they dig up Parker Crane's old file, and Insidious Chapter 2 really starts to feel like a procedural, a monster of the week. Who is the wily spirit this time? And compared to the original, who is Parker Crane is a far less interesting question than where is Dalton? The further, what the hell is that? And what's Darth Maul doing here? At home, Renee wakes up screaming. She finds Callie and the baby is fine, but there is no longer any doubt. There is something weird going on in this house. A ghost lady slapped her for crying out loud. Josh plays the same old tune, telling her to ignore the ghosts and they'll go away. The piano plays again, and Renee recognizes the tune. It's her song, one she wrote for Josh, but he doesn't remember. How could that be? It's like he's possessed or something. It's a sad moment, punctuated with Renee's melancholy song. There are some effective moments of drama that do peek through. Lorraine, Carl, Specs, and Tucker continue their investigation, checking out Parker Crane's old home. They found the address in his file. Specs and Tucker visit Parker's childhood bedroom, where they find rocking horses rocking themselves. And perhaps stranger.
It seems a little girly for a boy's bedroom, don't you think? What? I mean, look at this dollhouse. What? I had a dollhouse?
A ghost girl runs by, screaming, "This is my room!" Then warns, "You can't be in here. If she sees you, she'll make me kill you." Tucker and Specs take the advice and leave. At home, the tin cup phone finally comes into play. Through it, a voice calls out to Dalton, "I have something to show you." The other end of the string leads into the wardrobe. "Who are you?" Dalton asks. Their answer, "The ones he killed." A woman runs out and begs for help. "Make the pain stop." Then he's surrounded by them, the dead. On the bed, he sees himself. Yes, he's asleep right now, astral projecting. Dalton dives back into his body under the covers as the dead swarm. Renee finds him screaming and reassures him it's okay. The tears in the sheets say otherwise. This was probably my favorite scare in the movie. It does the best job of setting something up, paying it off, and building the scare through stages of realization. Who's talking to me? Oh, it's my brother on the tin can phone. No, wait, that's not his voice. And then, thanks to how the phone works, a string attaching both ends, Juan can show us the string leading into the closet, and our imagination fills in the rest. Finally, when the movie has lulled us into generally expecting one ghost at a time, it's a surprise to see so many so suddenly. Downstairs, possessed Josh is talking to seemingly nobody. He tells that nobody, "You're trying to reach her, but you won't. Not from over there. Shadows are your home now." Who is he talking to? Real Josh. We finally see him in the further, banging on the piano, screaming for help. And that's the idea. We keep hearing the piano because real Josh is like a ghost in their home, separated from his body, trying to reach Renee from the other side. And evil Josh is telling him, "Yeah, keep dreaming, pal." At Parker Crane's house, Lorraine notices a painting of Parker as a boy and his mother's hands on his shoulders. Lorraine recognizes his mother. That's the woman she saw in her house, the woman in a white dress. There's little time to reflect before they're attacked by a chandelier, doors slamming, loud noises. Why would Elise bring them here? That's the thing. She didn't. "Who are you?" Carl asks. The dice answer, "Mater Mortis, Mother of Death," i.e., Parker Crane's mother. That was another moment I enjoyed. We've seen it before. The characters think they're talking to a friendly spirit, only to realize maybe not. It's an oldie but a goodie, and any time you can catch the audience off guard, it makes for a nice, oh boy, moment. Why did Crane's mother bring them here? Given the falling chandelier, perhaps she hoped to lure them in hopes with killing them before they could get to the bottom of their investigation. They hear knocking behind the bookshelf. Moving it reveals a hidden room filled with bodies. Inside a trunk, newspaper scraps about the bride in black, a serial killer described as an old woman dressed in a black wedding gown and veil. These bodies are her victims. They even find the veil. And in a movie that's mostly filled with ghosts of the dead, to see a room filled with neatly arranged corpses, the actual physical dead rather than visiting spirits, is extra creepy. Carl touches the veil to peek into the past. Finally, all is revealed. Parker Crane was a boy, but his mother preferred he be a girl, so she forced him to wear a dress, called him a good little girl, and forced him to kill. Not sure why the last part was necessary. As an adult, Crane wore a black dress, a wig, and a veil. He became a serial killer, the bride in black. He tried to castrate himself, landed in the hospital, jumped to his death, and in death, decided he wanted his childhood back. That's why he tried to possess Josh's body back in 1986. It explains everything. The woman in the white dress, seen by Dalton, Renee, and Lorraine, is Parker Crane's mother. With her son possessing Josh, of course she'd want to hang around the Lambert residence. And of course she'd take an interest in their daughter, Callie. She always wanted one of her own. All the ghosts who swarm Dalton in bed, those are Crane's victims begging for help. The little girl who told Specs and Tucker, "She'll make me kill you," was actually a young Parker Crane, forced to act like a little girl, warning that mother will make him kill again. So this room explains everything. A little too neatly, to be honest. It feels a little too movie for an investigation, not to present a bunch of puzzle pieces our investigators put together, but instead a scavenger hunt that leads to one room with literally all the answers. A bunch of dead bodies. Who are they? Open the chest and it explains, oh, they're the victims of a serial killer, the bride in black. Okay, well, why was he a serial killer? Well, look at the black veil and press A to trigger the explanation cutscene. The serial killer aspect also feels weird. Maybe because it doesn't manifest a whole lot while Josh is possessed. We don't really see him act like a serial killer, other than Crane's mother telling him to kill Josh's family. But that comes with a specific purpose. Kill them to save yourself. In which case, why do you need the serial killer background? I guess to make Crane a more malignant presence, but it feels oddly superfluous when the movie hardly explores it. There's little focus on his victims. They're there, but there's no idea of finally putting them to rest by finding justice. We don't have to do that. We've seen it before in other movies. But without that, and without possessed Josh really embracing his inner serial killer, rather just acting kind of cagey and irritable, all we have is the movie telling us, you know, that guy's a serial killer, and it just doesn't land with any impact. Lorraine rushes home to Renee to warn her your family is in danger.
Go. Have you been seeing them too? Around the house? It's not the house. It's Josh.
Josh? What could possibly be wrong with Josh? Lorraine drives Renee somewhere safe to share her theory. She thinks that Josh never really came back from the further. Actually, you're going to want to sit down for this. He's possessed. Finally, at the 1 hour 10 minute mark in a 1 hour 45-minute movie, Renee has caught up to where the audience was 3 years ago at the end of the first movie. With Lorraine and Renee away and the kids with a sitter, evil Josh is home alone. Time for Carl and the boys, Tucker and Specs, to make their move. Armed with a few gadgets and some tranquilizer, they get to the house and Carl dies and Tucker and Specs are knocked out cold. Given how often ghost hunting in these movies turns to fisticuffs, they may want to add self-defense training to their routine. Start bringing a bodyguard, or at minimum, stop sending the elderly into brawls they can't possibly hope to win. Josh already took out Elise, and the best they've got is, okay, Joshy boy, have a taste of Carl, the washed-up psychic. Oh, you killed him too. All right, how about Specs? Okay, you gently shoved him, and then he ran into a wall and knocked himself out cold. All right, Tucker, you're up. You know what? Maybe you should just lie down and pretend you're dead. This is definitely a challenge for horror movies that involve a physical presence. It's hard to avoid them devolving into cheesy action movies by the end, which risks undercutting the dark mood. That's doubly true for Insidious, where even the metaphysical effectively becomes physical. Normally, you can't punch a ghost, but in The Further, you can. And yeah, the scene comes off pretty comedic, especially with Tucker and Specs as the focus. Though even Carl joins in the fun. Before he goes in to try and trank Josh, Tucker and Specs plan on monitoring from outside, so they come up with a code word for Carl to signal he's in trouble. But Tucker and Specs argue over whether the word should be unicorn or quesadilla. So as Josh is choking out Carl, he manages to whisper, which admittedly did make me laugh. At least dying reunites Carl with the real Josh, because now they're both in The Further. Josh begs for Carl's help. Parker Crane is going to kill his family, but Josh is struggling to get his body back, and the longer he's here, the weaker he gets. So they go out into the dark in search of someone who can help, Elise. As they traverse the darkness, Carl warns, "Josh, there's someone standing right in front of you." Josh doesn't see him, but Carl is attuned to the dead. So he tells Josh what the nude elderly man is saying. "He's got your baby. He's got your baby." Jump scare. We see the man too.
He's got your baby. He's got your baby.
In this final half hour, the movie definitely picks up for me, largely because it finally feels like it has some focus. It's not a procedural with characters bumbling around, taking way too long to catch up with the audience. Instead, we have a protagonist with a defined need and obstacles in his path. Josh needs to get his body back before Crane hurts his family, and the movie finally uses Insidious's secret weapon, The Further, where things can get weird, like a naked old man can get in your face and say, "He's got your baby," over and over. He's genuinely being helpful. I don't know why he has to do it in a menacing manner, but this is the kind of creepy, surreal stuff I want to see in The Further. That man, by the way, is played by Jack Walsh, who sadly passed away in 2014. According to makeup department head Eleanor Sabadukia, James Wan wanted Walsh in the role, partly because he knew him from David Lynch's Eraserhead, where he played Mr. Roundheels. Honestly, borrowing some of Lynch's unique brand of surrealism is a great fit, and exactly what I want to see in The Further. Anyway, what the hell is "He's Got Your Baby" guy talking about? Who's got his baby? Well, he's pointing at Josh's house, and sure enough, Josh spots a grinning ghoul after his daughter, Callie. What is going on? Or should I say, when is going on? We are about to revisit a sequence from the first movie and find out that Ghost Josh was there the whole time, visiting from the future. Remember this scene where Josh and Renee are in bed, then hear a banging at the front door? Turns out that banging was Ghost Josh from the future trying to get inside to protect Callie. Eventually, he does get in, which sets the alarm off, explaining why in the first movie, Josh finds the door open, but no one there. Turns out someone is there. Josh from the future in astral form. In that same sequence back in the first movie, Renee went to check on Callie and found a ghost standing over her crib. That is the ghost Josh sees now in The Further, and as is the way with Insidious movies, he starts punching said ghost until someone lands the killing blow.
Go to hell!
That someone is revealed to be Elise. Her reintroduction feels a tad silly, maybe because the line she uses to defeat the ghost is such a colloquial phrase, "Go to hell." Instead, it should have been something like, "Be gone, foul spirit." Maybe not. How about all this time travel stuff? I am a sucker for sequels folding in on the originals like this, using old footage to revisit a moment from another perspective, recontextualizing things. It amazed me as a kid watching Back to the Future Part 2, and I haven't gotten sick of it since, especially now where it isn't traditional time travel, but time travel with a unique and bizarre supernatural twist, involving a living spirit, Josh, joined by dead ones, Carl and Elise, in a timeless place called the Further. I also just find the idea awesome that a living person can temporarily exist on the same plane as a ghost and haunt a house the same way dead people do. I especially love all this because the more complex your timeline, the more it qualifies for a one-take timeline video. The dead Elise is in better spirits than you'd expect. She tells Josh how we all pass through this place eventually, hopefully on our way to somewhere better, a place she's actually seen but came back when she heard Josh calling, implying the Further is an intermediate place you go after death before the cosmos shuffle you off to somewhere better, or presumably somewhere worse, i.e., heaven or hell. More importantly, how do they get Parker Crane out of Josh's body? Elise has an idea. Crane has a home here in the Further, containing the memories of his life. They can use those memories to draw him out. Where is that home? Josh knows but can't remember, thanks to the hypnosis memory wipe of 86. Thankfully, time works differently in the Further. They visit young Josh, the one who remembers. That is how older Josh ends up in the archival interview footage. He was there in 86 to ask his younger self a question. Where is Parker Crane's memory home? And young Josh answers,
I'll show you.
In that cold open, we saw child Josh point at a door, and it opened. Now we know why. He pointed the way, then older Josh and Carl walked through the door. Older Elise remembers feeling confused by that in 86, but now it all makes sense.
So that's what that was about.
They walk through the door, they find a red door and walk through that one too. In the real world, Lorraine and Renee return home to a possessed Josh sitting in the dark, menacingly. Throughout the movie, he's been deteriorating, and now he's at his worst. The more sunken-in look as we get into the movie's final act was partly accomplished with prosthetic cheeks based on molds from Wilson's face. Now, the mask is off. No more charade. Everyone knows Josh is evil. He attacks, and they slam a door on his hand. It's been so long since he felt real pain like that. He missed it.
Not as much as I miss inflicting it on others.
A bit on the nose, and speaks to why I find the core mystery of the movie so lacking. Who is Parker Crane? Nothing inherently interesting about that question, except the fascination we inherently have with evil. But unsubtle moments like this, I enjoy inflicting pain on others, signals that this movie will not satisfy that fascination. Wilson does a fine job performing as evil Josh. It's just not more interesting than that. Josh, but mean. Evil Josh eventually gets out and gets his hands around Renee's throat, until the kids return home. Dalton takes a bat to his dad's head, and the family takes refuge in the basement. In the Further, the trio gets to Crane's metaphysical home. There, they see it all. An abusive mother who insists her child's name is not Parker. That is the name his father gave him. No, to her, he will be Marilyn. He will be her good little girl. Or else. When Mother notices the three ghostly visitors, she growls at them, flinging Carl and Elise out of the room, leaving Josh alone. I find these scenes a little too over the top to be scary. Crane's mother is not played with any subtlety. Every line is shouted at the top of her lungs.
Don't you dare!
Her movements are theatrical, like she's performing for an audience. And it sort of makes sense. This is Crane's memory of her, so you imagine it would be exaggerated. It makes sense, but that doesn't make it effective. Similarly, I found the makeup distracting. The pale makeup, dark eyeshadow, it further adds to the sense that this is theatrics, performance for an audience, more like a haunted house ride than a story, especially when Carl and Elise fly out of the room like they're on a roller coaster. Fun, but not scary. Roller coaster aside, I did enjoy the initial moment where suddenly Parker's mother notices Josh and the others watching. This was at first treated like a memory, something you can only observe, so it felt like a violation for her to suddenly break from that. It's not just a memory, but a living one. It's also a creative choice to show Parker's backstory this way, as a looping thing in the further, rather than a true flashback. And it gets to some of that surreal stuff I love to see in the further, things like a metaphysical home of memories. In the real world, while evil Josh tries to here's Johnny his way into the basement, Dalton enters the further in search of real Josh. Soon, evil Josh gets into that room, leading to a brawl with Renee. Specs wakes up, forgot he was here, and joins the fight, which is about as helpful as you'd expect. In the further, Josh finds himself in a room filled with the spirits of Parker Crane's victims. He starts lifting the sheets, hiding their forms, which feels a tad disrespectful, and under one sheet finds Parker's mother, perhaps implying she too was an eventual victim. After years of abuse, maybe Parker finally killed her in revenge. In another room, Elise finds young Parker and begs him, "Let me in. We can destroy the memories of her and set you free." He opens the door, and before his mother can attack Josh, Elise to the rescue. She beats Crane's mother to death with a rocking horse. Well, technically it's not his mother, it's the memory of his mother, and technically not death because she's already dead. Okay, so she beats the ghost memory of Crane's mother to double death with a rocking horse. Freeing Josh by Elise beating a woman to death with a rocking horse. Sure, why not? I'm not exactly clear on why that would accomplish anything. Okay, you've destroyed the memory of Crane's mother. What does that mean? He can't remember her anymore? Why does that eject him from Josh's body? It's also weird messaging. Usually movies would be about confronting and integrating your traumatic memories, as opposed to defeating trauma by forgetting it. Not that I'm coming to Insidious Chapter 2 for messaging, it's just one more element that makes it all feel weird. As Parker's memory house collapses, Elise tells Josh and Carl to leave. Wait, and Carl? I thought he was dead. No, she felt a heartbeat. It is not yet his time to go, so he gets to leave. Thank God Carl will live. They run but get lost in the dark, surrounded by spirits, until Dalton finds them, and the clever boy brought with him one end of the tin can phone. Following it brings them home. At first, Renee is hesitant to believe Josh is really back, until he reminds her, "I played your song," and she knows he was the ghost at the piano all along. With all that settled, Josh and Dalton sit down with Carl so he can hypnotize them to forget their ability to astral project. Remember, kids, the best way to deal with trauma? Stuff it down deep, bottle it up, and forget. Beat it to death with a rocking horse if you have to. Call in a hypnotist, whatever it takes. As for Tucker and Specs, they keep the ghost hunting gig going, except now they have a ghost on their side. Yes, Elise has decided to come out of retirement, mortality be damned. The latest gig is for a girl who had an accident and was resuscitated, but brought something back with her from the other side. And I kind of found that silly. Elise has seen everything by now. Evil spirits, both human and otherwise. Now, she's literally dead. She's been to the afterlife and back. What could possibly solicit this reaction from her? Maybe there's also a degree of psychic who cried wolf, after she promised we'd meet the most malignant presence ever, and it turned out to be Parker Crane. In the end, there's some fun to be had with Insidious 2. Juan and Juanel still know how to craft frightening sequences, but this time, the overall story feels less focused and has less of a dramatic core. With the further already established in 1, this movie also struggles to regain a sense of mystery. It succeeds to some extent on the time travel side. Even if the moment feels tacked on, how did adult Patrick Wilson get in this shot from '86? house, and ultimately answers questions we never had. Who opened that door in the first movie? We assumed it was just one of many ghosts trying to steal Dalton's body, and if I had to guess, I bet Juan and Juanelle thought the same thing at the time, only deciding in retrospect it was Josh. But still, in Chapter 2, it was an interesting and fun use of the further. On the Parker Crane front, as a Monster of the Week villain, it just felt unnecessarily convoluted. Learning all the backstory about his mother explains to some extent why he turned malignant, but I didn't find the backstory all that compelling. Maybe if we really dug into it so it resonated dramatically and genuinely got us to feel bad for Parker, see that really his mother was the bad guy. But she was such a caricature, and there was that vague accusation in the mix. She forced him to kill. Did she really? Why? The most lacking aspect for me, though, is the dramatic tension we had in the first movie. Renee slowly realizing the supernatural is at play, struggling to convince Josh, and him, the skeptic, finally learning to accept it, culminating with a trip into the further. Compared to 2, where there's no real arc, just Renee stuck in "what's going on" mode, as though she got amnesia between entries. We wait for the cast to realize what's obvious: Josh is possessed, and the only place we see real progression is in the Monster of the Week procedural investigation. Then, again, culminating with that trip into the further, which is where things get fun again. Speaking of which, I hear Insidious Chapter 3 is a step up from this one, so I will be taking another trip into the further soon. Make sure you're subscribed to join me if you dare.